There we go. Yeah. Okay, just as a quick fact check, because I was curious. I like that when I think, have you heard me give this complaint? I forget. It used to be you had your intellectual vanguards of Republican media, your Rush Limbaughs, your Michael Savages, your Bill O'Reillys. These are people who be like scary debaters. They're going to be able to go in a bit more on the topics and whatever is like part of the conservative zeitgeist at the time. But now you just have it's just all like talking points. Like the media people are just doing talking points. It's the same as talking to a frontline, whatever, random party person. So I Googled that DEI thing because I was curious. And of course, the first link that pops up is just a Fox News thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was curious about that. And I even had an inkling. I couldn't say because we were watching it. But like when they said no mom and dad, that you couldn't say mom and dad anymore, my initial guess, oh, now I'm spoiling because I've already seen it. But my initial guess was that it was probably more don't tell troops like say hi to mom and dad or whatever, but rather you just say like your parents or whatever, because some people might have a dead parent or some shit like that. And I looked it up and that's exactly what it was. Nothing in here is about not being allowed to say mom and dad anymore. It was just like suggestions to be more inclusive to your troops, rather than like saying like write mom and dad. You would say like write your parents or write your guardians. It sounds like he said you couldn't even say parents anymore, but so they suggest maybe parents, caregivers, or guardians instead of mom and dad. Now, whether you think that's cringe or not, that's fine. But like, if you already think it's bad, why lie more about it?
Right. Well, see, for me, it's like, you know, even granting the premise that there are some cringe parts of, inclusivity programs, which I think pretty much everybody agrees. Like, Robin, I don't know if like any even like progressives or leftists like that, like in our space that defend like is it Robin DiAngelo or whatever, the lady who gives all the seminars about like DEI and inclusivity for corporations. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think most people agree that there's part of these things that you could interpret as cringe or whatever. So let's just grant the premise, because it's you and me.
Also, anybody that's worked a normal job before, did you ever have to do where you'd sit in a room with the fucking VHS and you'd have to watch the training? We did this at my McDonald's. You had to watch the training over like how to treat employees and not sexually harass people. Like,
right, like there's this sort of like these obligatory things which appear even in the private sector, which come off like ridiculous, and like even set aside like workplace conduct, like even just general meetings, like when you hear your CEO talk about we're a family, like that shit's sort of cringy. This is virtue signaling. But here's the point. Let's just grant the premise. What have they actually shown in terms of the Biden administration's DOD is lacking in military preparedness or military readiness relative to what they inherited, or relative to, like, he talked about, there was a claim about military recruitments post-election. Well, maybe that's true. Is that like a recurring thing? Like, do we see that in previous elections? Like, is it like, do we see like recruiting
Oh, wait,
seasons?
was this after the Biden election too?
Right. Well, no, he said with the Trump election, right? That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like, for all we know, it's like a cyclical thing. And to me, it's like they appeal to these things, but they don't point to specific. Like, the closest they get is Afghanistan. The closest they get is Afghanistan. They're like, look how we slunk away in shame in Afghanistan. But it's like, actually, given the context of Afghanistan, what was accomplished there was actually really fucking impressive.
I know we don't care, but we did have like a whole ass inspector general special report that, like, why was everything like so crazy pulling out? And it was because the deal was fucking insane.
Yes.
And it was because Donald Trump he drew the troop levels down to an insane low, the lowest that they had been. And everything was just like fucked and set up to fail because the Afghanistan army wasn't even included in the surrender talks. They didn't even know what the fuck was being given when the Taliban started to come through. Yeah.
So like with all the stuff that I cover on my channel, it's like really like sometimes I have to go back and brush up on certain things because it's like you can only just like retain so much information and then like a month or two later you forget about it. But the Afghanistan withdrawal is like one of those things that's indelibly seared into my brain because it was when I first started to do like political commentary on TikTok. And it was when President Biden's above water approval rating started to dip. And so like a lot of the stuff I recall, and that it was Trump who reduced troop levels from like 13,500 down to 2,500. And they talk about, had Trump gotten a second term, it would have been a conditions-based withdrawal. but he didn't enforce any of the conditions. He accepted. The Taliban gave him a list of shit, and Trump honored the
Like releasing prisoners and shit, right?
Right.
Yeah.
He arranged for 5,000 Taliban fighters to be sent back to the Taliban. He forced the Afghan government to surrender them. So think about that. He gave the Taliban back twice as many troops as he left, in Afghanistan to secure a country which is the size of multiple U.S. states. And like the other thing you hear is like, what about all the equipment? Well, that equipment, I mean, we actually rendered inoperable the vast majority of the equipment that we couldn't take with us. But you're talking about decades worth of equipment that was sold to or loaned
to the Afghan government. Army, were you going to just take it all from them?
Right. Were you just going to go through the whole fucking country and start collecting handguns and shit like that? Yeah.
We need this back now.
Right. And if you were going to do that, why didn't you start to do that on your watch? And why would you reduce the number of troops who would be responsible for doing that in the first place? It's just the whole thing is
the fact that you would negotiate a surrender and then make the withdrawal happen next term is just the ultimate cowardly fucking thing to do.
And that's how you know they're full of shit. Remember, because he campaigned on that, Stephen. He was like, I'm going to get us out of Afghanistan. But he kicked the can down the road. And so, again, if you want to, I don't want to say the word quibble, but like if you want to complain about aspects of the withdrawal, because even the report concluded like the withdrawal wasn't perfect. But the other thing is like there were decisions made by the Biden administration. You're the debate king here. Like the difference between like, is it valid and sound? Like there were some decisions that the Biden administration made which were sound in theory, even if in hindsight it turns out, oh, we should have done something else. Like Bagram Air Base is a good example. They're like, oh, you shouldn't have evacuated from Bagram Air Base because it was a fortified structure, but it was like half an hour away from the major population center. Its ability to load planes was half as much as the Kabul airport. So what I'm saying is they had a good reason, even if it turned out to be the wrong reason in hindsight.
There was also the issue of like nobody expected. There were not high hopes for the Afghanistan military, but nobody expected to be that quick.
No.
But because the Afghanistan army wasn't involved when Trump surrendered to the Taliban, there were like the early reports of the Taliban pushing through Afghanistan was literally them walking into an area and then saying, this area was actually promised to us by the United States, and the Afghanistan military actually didn't know. So some people just like dropped their guns and ran, or were just like, "Oh, well, fuck this." Like that it was just it was a disaster in every sense of the word.
I'm now remembering this when you didn't. Who was it who told
Gorka?
you? No, but who was it? Was it Gorka who said, "Well, the number of troops didn't matter because we also had like Blackwater. We had like."
Oh, that was AJW Sean.
Okay.
He got like I think a college degree in misinformation because he happens to be able to read. Like I would consider him evil. He's a person who's read enough to like his statements are intentionally crafted to be deceitful or misleading. I got him really fucking good in that debate too, and I was happy for it. I don't remember what exactly the point was, but it had something to do with like it was like spending an estate or whatever. And I think he was trying to. I started reading off like, oh shit, they do spend the most on some bullshit that he was claiming. And then after he agreed with all the things that I read, he was like, oh yeah, I was like, actually, this is like third or fourth on the line item. The first or second is shit that's way outside.
No, and I think you also got him with the. He tried to sell you a line of bullshit. Like, it doesn't matter if there are only 25,000 or 2,500 active duty U.S. troops. We had a bunch of military, like.
Oh, he was saying that all the contractors there were fucking like top secret, like private military corporation, Metal Gear Solid 4, Black. Yeah, no, they weren't. That was not true. Stupid.
So it's sad because obviously we missed the bulk the bulk of that conversation due to.
I'm sure the beginning was
issues.
Bullshit as well.
But he's going to be confirmed.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Do you expect that there will be... Okay, would you be surprised if there were one or two defections and he just squeaks by? Because, again, if he loses 3, he's done. But if it turns out like, 2 Republicans, 1 or 2 Republicans vote against him, would that surprise you?
It would have to be people who can survive Trump's pressure. Like...
It'd have to be Susan Collins from Maine, because she's a Republican senator in a blue state.
Okay.
And then probably somebody like in North Carolina, like Tom Tillis or somebody like that, who represents a purple state. I don't know. Like, to me, the Joni Ernst, who, again, female veteran, she came out and criticized Hegseth. They put a pressure campaign on her, and she folded in like 48 hours.
Romney was a big opposition.
Yeah, but he's out.
He's out now. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, Romney retired. He's out. He pieced out.
John Curtis is his successor.
Oh, hey, I'll say this. Curtis did an interview where he said some pretty encouraging shit, not about Hegseth, but about like we're not going to be a rubber stamp for Trump, but I mean, it's easy to say that now when you're a freshman senator. See what the pressure goes. Yeah, as bad as Hegseth is, well, let me ask you, based on what we saw, what did you think? Honest thoughts of Hegseth? Do you think he did better than you thought he would, or worse, or about the same?
I think just for people to understand, the purpose of these public hearings is, at this point, you're trying to enter stuff into the public record more than anything else. So when it comes to Congress, people don't really show up to vote, and you're like, what? Except in exceptional circumstances like
John McCain
and Trump.
That's right.
Generally, you already know how all the votes are going to go. You've got your party whips. You've got people that talk beforehand, like, are you voting yea or nay? Like, you generally know how it's going to go beforehand. You're not here to be surprised. What you're here to do is to basically, it sounds so stupid, but you're farming clips, basically.
You're virtue signaling.
Yeah, but more specifically, you're farming clips. Yeah. You want to have your moment where you're reading off your stats and making the other guy look bad, or you want to have your moment where you're teeing them up for a good answer. Like, tell me, on a scale from 1 to 10, do you love your wife a 9 or a 10? And he's like, I love my wife an 11. And it's like, my God, that's
he's
so
just
beautiful,
weeping
right?
there. Yeah.
You're just, so you're either teeing him up to hit home runs that you can then clip and then put on YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels for your, congressional fan base, or you're trying to team up for big L's that you can put on X or whatever for your fan base. That's basically what these are. Yeah, it's clip farming. He's almost certainly going to be confirmed. I don't think I've heard any talk of it not surviving the confirmation. In terms of how it went,
again, based on what we saw, because I'm sure there was a lot of cool shit that we missed, because towards the end you're starting to get to the least senior members of the Senate. So like we missed like the badasses, like we just caught the tail end of Elizabeth Warren and stuff like that, like the people who'd really go for the jugular. But yeah, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, the issue is that you're as we move like away from a policy-driven world and a more ideologically driven one, we're getting to more and more dangerous areas where we're just choosing people who have like the most base position on DEI. And the question is how robust are the institutions that they can survive without clear direction or leadership from the top, besides like no DEI or no wokeness. The funny thing is that like there are huge competitive forces here. Like in one way, you could argue that Hegseth is going to be doing things to the military that the average conservative would want to see because he's so ideologically partisan and aligned with them. But in another way, it might actually be even worse for their agenda because he's so, it's not fair to say necessarily incompetent, but like the DOD is fucking huge.
It is, yeah.
Like, yeah, this is tons of people, fucking trillions of dollars of like money and budget. Like the idea that this guy is going to be able to knowingly navigate that environment and implement some type of strict like big culture change.
Is that why, like before, I think it might have been before we were having these tech issues, why you were talking about that you almost see his nomination as a sign that Trump is literally just looking basically for an airheaded pretty boy, and there's going to be more direct control of these departments out of the White House instead of
but Trump doesn't know how any of it works either. So
yeah, but I mean, he's surrounding himself. But I agree. Mm-hmm. Like I guess because
the problem is that the people with the expertise and the know-how to run these institutions are just not this fucking insane. You can't be and be competent at these jobs. So it's hard for them to, like anybody that you pick, even the people who are, like Bill Barr is the best example. This guy was a Trump sycophant and a executive office presidential power sycophant. Yeah. And even he was like, this is too far for me. Like 3 weeks before the transition, I'm out. So
yeah, I just think that I think you probably, whether you realize it or not, I think you hit the nail on the head because there was there's been credible reports that the overall ethos for Trump term 2 is that he's going to have more of an overt control from the White House. So like again, typically speaking, like apparently over the years there's been tension between the executive office of the president and the cabinet secretaries because like, let's use an example like the chief of staff to get like really nerdy. That's considered the second most powerful person in the federal government, but technically cabinet secretaries don't report to the chief of staff. It's just the sort of dynamic that the president wants. And I could see in this next administration, Trump is really gonna, run more shit out of the White House as opposed to like really putting competent people as cabinet secretaries. Marco Rubio is like, to me, like some people will cite him and they'll say, this is a guy who's an experienced neocon, an experienced diplomat. That's proof that Trump is taking it seriously. I just don't think that Marco Rubio has the sort of strength of character to really defy Trump. I think that if Marco Rubio, who has a neocon philosophy, if Trump he and Trump come in like conflict, I don't know if he'll do what Bill Barr did. Marco Rubio seems to me like he's the sort of guy who would fold to
You
Trump.
really think so?
Yeah, I think so.
I would hope not, but
Oh, I'd hope not either, but look what he did after the election. I mean, that's the
he
thing.
said he's talked big, but like, would he really? I don't know. It's a spooky world, especially knowing now that the president can do basically whatever he wants to as well, with no criminal oversight either. So
That's why I say Kash Patel is probably the one. You agree? Kash Patel scares you even more than Tulsi, right?
I mean, you've got the FBI and your foreign kind of intelligence. I think the CIA reports to the DNI, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, that's a good question right there. You are obligated to confirm one. Do you confirm Tulsi Gabbard as DNI or Kash Patel as FBI director? You have to. I think I'd rather have Tulsi Gabbard as DNI than Kash Patel as FBI director. Jesus. I don't know if I'm missing something. They both suck, but
I feel like I would rather have Kash Patel, but the reason why is because we can deal maybe with like bad Americans, but it's a lot harder to deal with bad foreign adversaries that gain a lot of access to our government. Like Tulsi Gabbard is probably an unprecedented amount of access to stuff related to our government from foreign adversaries who can do who knows what with it. The worst that Kash Patel can do is whatever authoritarian bullshit Trump wants to do, but at least it's still like vaguely American. It's not good, but this would be like a close.
Yeah,
this would be like a close one. Like I could go either way. Maybe if Kash, maybe there are a few more children's books out there he's written that I'm not aware of.
He's probably sketching one out right now.
I think the FBI probably has a little bit more in terms of oversight as well and like checks on it than like the CIA, which can.
I don't know, man. J. Edgar Hoover, baby. Like he's kind of like Hoover was like the archetypical example of a rogue FBI director. As a matter of fact, that's part of the reason why, so many reforms were changed about the FBI director. Like they serve 10-year terms instead of like 4-year terms or at the president's pleasure. And I don't know. I just feel like, it's like anything else. These safeguards only matter in so much as people enforce them. Christopher Wray, the current FBI director, is kind of an example of this. He was appointed by Trump. Trump now hates him, and he is resigning. Like, what he should do, in my opinion, is just make Trump fire him. Like, just actually go through it, just to set the standard. Instead, he's like doing this, like, what do they call it? Capitulation in advance or surrender in advance. Sort
Obeying
of thing.
In advance, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Huh.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. It's pretty not cool. Not
cool.
Great.
Not great.
How many are they doing like one per day up to the?
They were supposed to have 3 today, but they canceled 2. They canceled 2 of them, and I can't remember which ones.
Audio issues.
Probably.
Couldn't get there.
They're everywhere. It's contagious.
Are they supposed to have all of them done by the 20th, or do they do a few after?
They want as many as possible done before Trump's inauguration, but I just don't see it in the schedule because, again, they were supposed to have 3 today, and they only ended up doing 1. It's 6 days before his confirmation or his inauguration. And like the other ones to me besides Patel and Gabbard are Pam Bondi as Attorney General. Now, is she better than Matt Gaetz? Yes. But this is also a woman who was an election denier. So I'm looking forward to that conversation, too. It should be who won the 2020 election.
Jesus. An election denier?
Yeah. She was, a Stop the Steal Republican.
What was her role exactly? Did she have a role? I'm sure
she was a Florida Attorney General, if I'm not mistaken. I think she was an AG in Florida.
Okay.
Somebody fact check me on that because, again, I'm going off memory. But, again, certainly a more experienced lawyer than Matt Gaetz, someone more serious, but she was still like an election-denying conspiracy theorist. It's crazy. This is where we are, man. Did you see this poll? And I don't have my shit on me, but you do. Maybe Chad will link it to you. But there's a poll that's been circulating that apparently it's like 30%, maybe 35% of polled Republicans would support Trump suspending constitutional provisions if need be.
That's funny. It would probably be higher if he, depending on what he wanted to suspend, but yeah.
I don't know, man. I just don't know like where we go from here. I'm like seeing this stuff and like even like kind of doom scrolling last night, which I know you said you did too. I just don't see like what the limiting principle is. This has just sent a signal that you can do the most unhinged shit and be politically rewarded for it. Like, again, going back to we're seeing more and more Republicans threaten to condition aid to red states, and
Blue states.
Republicans
California, right?
never used to say this shit. I'm sorry.
Conditioned it to
I'm sorry,
California.
blue states.
Right?
Yeah, blue states. Sorry. Yeah, it's like we're seeing a brazenness. Like, I thought a lot of people said, well, because it's his second term, and he's mellowed or whatever, like whatever that
Who
means.
said that?
I mean, we've heard Republicans say, I don't know if Dave Smith and others have said, Piers Morgan, I know, has said it, like, oh, he's calmed down a bit, he's more introspective, he's a changed man after the assassination attempt, and
Okay.
I don't see that evidence at all.
That is true historically. Typically, when somebody tries to assassinate a leader, historically, they become less radical afterwards, I think. Yeah.
That's right. They calm down. Like, what could I possibly do to bring more people together? Here in a bit, right, you're going to be interviewing Ben Wickler?
Ben Wickler,
Yeah.
who I think is supposed to be the favorite right now for the DNC
He
chair.
is. He
Yeah.
is. Yeah, I'm not sure what can be said at the moment, but he is definitely the household name to the extent that any of them are.
For the DNC chair.
Yeah.
Very household position spoken
Exactly. I mean, it's going to be the sexiest position in all of Democrat. I mean, fuck, we're not going to have anything. So, like,
about. Might be the leader of the next, the half of America that splits off from the other half.
yeah. Yeah.
I want to read this thing real
Yeah, go
quick
ahead.
to you because I thought it was funny. Not funny. I'm so sorry. It's like catastrophically horrible, terrible. I'm trying to find the thing I was mentioning. I doom scrolled on this. I don't know if this came out at night or somebody just sent it to me at night, but it's like 116 pages in. But this was Jack Smith released his
Volume 1.
about the January 6th case.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's trying to release another report about the Mar-a-Lago case, but I think they're trying to block that. Or,
Judge Cannon.
I think Judge Cannon blocked it, and they're trying to get it pushed through. But Mr. Trump's public statements, and specifically his posts on the social media application Twitter, constituted important potential evidence of his criminal conduct and intent. Accordingly, on January 17, 2023, the office applied for, and the district court authorized, a search warrant requiring Twitter to provide certain information regarding Mr. Trump's Twitter account. At the same time, as is common in non-public criminal investigations to prevent individuals under investigation from destroying evidence or otherwise hampering the process, the office asked the district court to issue a non-disclosure order, an NDO, which would direct Twitter that it could not inform Mr. Trump that the office was seeking information regarding his account. The district court granted the request and issued the NDO. The search warrant required Twitter's compliance within 10 days of its issuance, but the day before that deadline, its senior director of legal informed the office that, quote, it would not comply with the warrant by the next day, end quote. Shortly thereafter, Twitter's senior director of legal further informed the office that it would not comply with the warrant, quote, without changes to the NDO, end quote, permitting Twitter to notify Mr. Trump of the warrant. Twitter claimed that the NDO impinged on its First Amendment interests in communicating with the former president, which, according to Twitter, were heightened because the warrant purportedly could implicate issues of executive privilege, though it conceded that it had no standing to raise any privilege issues. Yeah. The district court later described Twitter's actions as extraordinary and noted that its resistance to the NDO appeared to be a first in the company's history. And then the quote is, for what appears to be the first time in the nearly 17-year existence as a company, Twitter seeks to vacate or modify an order issued under the Stored Communications Act, commanding that the company not disclose the existence of a search warrant for a user's Twitter account, and further seeks to condition any compliance by the company with that search warrant on the user or user's representatives first being notified about the warrant and given an opportunity to stop or otherwise intervene in execution of the warrant. The office promptly moved in district court to have Twitter show cause why it should not be held in contempt of court, asking the district court to impose a penalty that doubled with each day of noncompliance, starting at $50,000. In rejecting Twitter's basis for refusing to comply with the warrant, the district court emphasized that the search warrant and NDO had been issued by this court after being apprised of extensive reasons sufficient to establish probable cause for issuance of the warrant and to meet the statutory requirements for an NDO, to which reasons Twitter is neither privy nor entitled to be privy. The district court rejected Twitter's contentions, finding that there existed compelling government interest to maintain the NDO to preserve the integrity of the investigation. But yeah, that was the. Eventually, they were fined $350,000, and then I think eventually they must have given it over because that's the end of that. So,
while you were saying that, of course, one of the things that popped into my mind, probably not the first thing that popped into yours, was the seeming. And maybe it amounted to nothing in the end, but the seeming defiance of DOJ, or really just the Biden administration writ large. So while you were talking about that, I was thinking of, Texas trying to impede immigration enforcement at the border. You remember like that?
Yeah,
that
the barbed wire bullshit. Yeah.
We just talked about earlier today how Greg Abbott, the Texas governor, said that despite what the president said, they would fly flags during Trump's inauguration day. Mike Johnson, while we were sorting out technical issues, he said the same thing, that the Capitol would fly the flags, at full elevation or whatever on Trump's inauguration day. Obviously in the grand scheme of things, that probably doesn't mean much, but isn't it foreboding? It's foreboding to me that on issues like this, like what you're just reading, or even flag stuff, and certainly I think, immigrations is a big deal, that you're seeing this kind of like peacocking by red states and conservative companies in a way maybe blue states have done before, or liberal companies, to the extent that any exist, have done with Republicans, but I don't recall. Like, are you aware of like this like spirit of defiance in this way?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Although defiance of the law, right, and the Constitution, not of the administration, because it's going to be Trump's administration.
True.
Don't let them run with this anti-establishment bullshit or outsider bullshit or disruptor bullshit. They are the establishment.
No, 100%.
Probably more so than any, maybe in history there is some, but more than in any of my lifetime. Nobody's been as closely aligned with commercial capital interests as Donald Trump has with his like 7-member billionaire cabinet.
Yeah, and like that's the thing that I push back a lot on my channel, which is this idea that Republicans are like the out party or whatever. It's just not true. I mean, they're going to have the presidency, they're going to have the Senate, they're going to have the House. I mean, they have those things already. The presidency they'll have on January 20th. The biggest news network, like this is a big one, like even the framing. You know how they refer to, like, there's Fox News and then there's mainstream news or mainstream media?
They never, when they say mainstream media, they never say Fox News after. Nobody ever does. Crazy how that
is.
Huh?
But it is. It's bigger by far. I think it might even be bigger than CNN and MSNBC combined in terms of, like audience share and whatever. So it is mainstream news by definition. And, oh, by the way, Smartmatic.
Did you see that? Lawsuit is proceeding against Fox News.
Would you, I mean, obviously, I suppose like the fact that they settled with Dominion doesn't necessarily, say one way or another how the Smartmatic thing will go, but are you going to be watching that one with like keen interest?
Yeah, that'll be crazy. But the, I mean, if they made statements anywhere near what they made about Dominion, about Smartmatic, yeah, there's no shot. I mean, if it's a jury trial, anything could happen, but,
and that's the other thing too, like, again, I'm just thinking about this stuff in real time. Like, you have Piers Morgan. I know I pick on him a lot, but he pisses me off. He, talking about, ABC had to pay $20 million or $15 million to Trump to settle that defamation case. And there are like 17 episodes of Piers Morgan Uncensored about this. Fox had to pay exponentially more to Dominion. Like,
it doesn't matter. They don't even. Yeah. The strongest thing. I should just start doing this, and it actually pisses me off so much. Like, we should, like, there has to be like a deal that like the other guy can punch you if you say shit like this. Is when they have the ultimate defense for some of this. Like, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that. Good logic pull that on me. Like, how do these guys know every fucking last detail about every random fucking Hillary Clinton email, Hunter Biden, Burisma, and everything else? It's like, what do you think about this? The false electors, or what do you think about the Dominion law? No, about
biggest defamation settlement in the history of the United States. Yeah, and you're talking about ABC's. So it's like that's
implicating
like
direct coordination. Right. By the way, that lawsuit was everything that they wanted the Hunter Biden laptop story to be times a billion, and they don't know anything about that. How can you not know about that and call yourself like an informed American who, if you're just like a random person, sure, but if you're like an online person who's like going through all the, how the fuck if you know nothing about any of this?
And especially if you're talking about like things. So like, I'll use myself in this example. Like, I don't know a lot of culture war shit, right? So if somebody asks me like, do you know what the what is it, the persistence rate or desistance rate of like trans athletes? We're like, I don't know. I don't swim in that, but when you have Good Logic or Tim Pool and others talking about like things, but they don't know the bigger thing, like the Dominion voting system, it is kind of an indictment.
That was insane. When was the last time has anybody ever been convicted of seditious conspiracy prior to the January 6th?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean,
how is it that not a single one of the 5 subhuman conservatives that were sitting at that table with Luke the warrior, okay?
right.
The only proud American
The
at the
calm,
table.
the stoic warrior.
All
king.
5 of those fucking guys had no idea what any of the Enrique Tarrio stuff was about. Not a single one of them knew a shred of anything. They were like reading the wiki, okay? These fucking wiki retards were reading this, like shocked and surprised, where they're like, well, I don't know anything about this. Like, what? He made a plan to do that? What? Like every time Luke would say, like, yeah, Enrique Tarrio like had a document crafted. It was like, what? What are you talking? Meanwhile, it's like George Floyd. Oh, he had 9.6 nanograms per deciliter concentration, and there was an asphyxiation. And like, how do you like? They've memorized like autopsies that were like fan serviced on fucking 4chan. Like these guys can draw every single vein from Hunter Biden's cock from memory. But it's like, hey, what about like some of the largest like court criminal cases that have gone all the way, like conviction, everything? It's like, oh, I don't know anything about that. Okay, cool.
It's yeah, very suspicious gaps in your knowledge on these things. You know, it's I don't know, man. I don't know. You said Hunter Biden, it made me think. Like, didn't they drop the special counsel report on that too? Pretty sure they did today or last night.
For Hunter Biden?
Yeah, David Weiss, the special counsel who was investigating Hunter Biden. I'm pretty sure he released his final report.
Another
too,
500 pages and no charges recommended at the end?
Well,
what?
Remember, he did charge Hunter Biden.
What? I'm sorry. No real charges relevant to the Hunter Biden, Burisma, Joe Biden conspiracy stuff.
I would
Not
be
the
surprised.
gun-
I would be surprised about that. Yeah, and again, for those of you not keeping track, the guy who the informant who is the source
kicked
of
off
that
everything.
Say what?
The guy that the informant that initially informed the United States that there was an improper relationship between Burisma and Hunter Biden lied about all of it.
Yeah. And has been convicted. Like, he not only pled guilty, he was finally he was finally sentenced. I think 6 years in prison.
Mm-hmm.
God,
like everything that they accuse, it's like so. But like, and also the difference too is they say things like, I think Twitter files. They can't even like point to anything concrete. They didn't even read the Twitter files. They have nothing. It's all conspiracy on their side. And then on our side, we'll be like, okay, well, you're saying this thing, but you know that it's 10 times worse on this example. And your example is like some shit that you read from fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene's Twitter. That's bullshit. And my example is like hundreds of hours of deposition, court testimony, convictions. Like my stuff, like your stuff is so fake that you can't even point to anything. And like the other side is like Donald Trump is literally pardoning people that are indicted in criminal conspiracies with him.
The asymmetry is staggering.
Or convicted, I'm sorry.
Jessica Tarlov on Fox News, she must be a DGG or two, because during the panel yesterday, I didn't get to see the whole thing, but the topic of censorship came up, and she pointed out, you know, you guys don't know how time works, because the bulk of this happened in 2020. Donald Trump was president in 2020. So again, a lot of the things that you're saying are like disseminating among more mainstream audiences. But the
the Dave Smith guy, the quiet, feminine little couch
potato,
the couch coward, the guy who was next to me who was shriveled up in his seat.
You mean when me and
sitting
Mehdi
beside
were,
you? And he was like, when me and Mehdi were screaming at Sarah Palin. God, that felt good. When he was on Piers, he gave that 2020 was the worst year in the history of America for censorship. It was like, interesting. 2020. Who was president? They never say that.
That's what I was going to say. So you mentioned the Twitter files. So now that, again, we have Zuckerberg ending fact-checking, relocating the...
Thank God we're going from commie San Francisco to the unbiased heaven, like ascended place of the world, of the most intellectual minds, Austin, Texas. Thank God. Right next to Joe Rogan. I hope they walk from Joe Rogan's studio right to the Twitter or the Facebook enforcement offices. Yeah.
They're going to share that space. Now that he's doing that, relocating them, like you said, to Texas, now that he's donated $1 million to Trump's inaugural fund, which again, they never did, but like that's unprecedented. And now that you have Trump saying that it's because he threatened Zuckerberg, what are the odds that Taibbi, Schellenberger, Barry Weiss from the Free Press, all these enlightened centrists who just care about free speech, are going to do a Facebook files talking about the censorious threats of the Trump administration on social media? Do you expect a sequel to the Twitter files talking about this inappropriate pressuring?
We'll see. Maybe. One thing that's crazy to me is that for a Democrat, if you do like one thing, it's like why I left the left.
Or what?
Connection issue. Uh-oh. What happened?
Well, you figure that connection issue out. I'm going to tinkle.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, but he got brutalized.
Are we back?
You're good. Go to the bathroom. You're good.
Okay.
I'll just hang out here.
Break. He can take questions from the audience.
Oh, I was going to say, if people cared about our budget, they should have a Patreon for Congress, and they could take questions from the audience for the Senate confirmation hearings. How? Right here. Yep, there you go.
DGG innovator.
I am a genius. Well, what's up? Did Hegseth not meet with any Democratic senator prior to the confirmation hearing? That's not remotely normal, no? I don't know what the norm is there. He did meet with the one guy, Fetterman, because he was talking about it, right? Or at least he said he wanted to. Biden is describing Cuba as a state sponsor of terrorism. Based. Oh my God, they didn't ask a single question about the massive fucking pirate software World of Warcraft scandal. Oh no. What's going on there? Pirate Software's having a rough week. The fuck is this Truth Social shit? For far too long, we've relied on taxing our great people using the Internal Revenue Service. Through soft and pathetically weak trade agreements, the American economy has delivered growth and prosperity to the world while taxing ourselves. It is time for that to change. I'm today announcing that I will create the External Revenue Service to collect our tariffs, duties, and all revenue that come from foreign sources. We will begin charging those that make money off of us with trade, and they will start paying finally their fair share. January 2025 will be the birth date of the External Revenue Service. We're making an External Revenue Service now.
That's a good idea.
To collect tariffs. Trump was so mad at people saying, you know that Americans pay tariffs, right? Now he's going to make a whole new revenue collection thing so that that's not true.
For those in chat who watched the Hegseth stuff while we were dealing with audio issues, were there like plenty of spicy moments that we missed? Yes, I should be on chat too. Tim Kaine.
Oh, I remember that guy. Ran for president.
Vice president, yeah.
Or vice president, that's right, sorry. Was he was in the primaries at one point, right? And then he got drafted to be Hillary's VP?
I think so.
Or maybe he wasn't. Was he?
I think so, because I feel like that's how it usually works, right? I mean,
I don't remember. No, because he was Hillary. Was it that? No, that primary might have just been O'Malley, Hillary, and Sanders. Maybe? I don't remember.
I can't remember. I know there were like 15 for the Republicans.
All the book deals.
God, yeah. Lindsey Graham was a candidate, if you may recall. You want to talk about a guy who's fallen from grace? It's so sad.
Didn't they all fall from grace?
Yeah, I guess so. Jeb Bush. I don't think Jeb Bush did. I think Jeb Bush remained true to his fuck you Trump principles, unless I'm mistaken.
Hell yeah.
Of course, not that he has that much relevance anyway. Wild answer to a question. So do you commit to disobeying unlawful or unconstitutional orders?
Well, it's hard to engage with it because I can't even imagine Daddy Trump giving an unlawful order, so I can't really compute the question. Do we want to
should be a layup.
What time, how much did we miss? Do you know how many minutes?
I feel like we missed like 2 hours.
Okay. That's a lot of minutes.
Everybody keeps saying Tim Kaine spanked.
Yeah, apparently there was like a big Tim Kaine moment.
All right.
But
I'm down to watch whatever.
Do you think we can... Do you think they're able to do that?
Audio gods, could we restart the... It was spicy between Hegseth and Senator Peters? I mean, I guess a little bit.
If Musk manages to acquire TikTok, that's just...
That's what I'm saying. Like,
There's no shot. That would just be so crazy. Blocking the merger or whatever. Yeah.
But it's not going to be. Oh, by the way, that's the other thing. So the current FTC chair is Lena Khan, and she is a populist darling. She is very good, like attacking monopolies. Like, she's a beast. We were assured, or rather, we were told that it was likely, or at least possible, that Lena Khan would be kept by the Trump administration because, again, she's a populist, and J.D. Vance liked her. And so, I mean, come on, guys, it's the populists coming together. And Trump fired her. Interesting. I'm just not finding any sort of evidence of the genuine, like, I know you have a disdain for populism, but again, just set that aside. Like, do you see like an actual, like, populist movement in the Republican Party? Because I don't. Like, I just see a cult.
That's what populism is. That's why it's so cancerous. It is. It truly is. It's usually people with a poor understanding of how government works or any systems, and then it's people that find like a cult leader, and then they.
Yeah, but I feel like that, like, they're left-wing populists, but I don't. Maybe it's just a matter of degree because I don't see the cultishness in left. Like Bernie, like right now, Bernie is being torched. AOC is being like, these were left-wing populist darlings, and they're being like destroyed often by left-wing populists. I feel like right-wing populists, there's nothing Trump could do.
There's a difference, like, because Bernie would have worked with Bernie wasn't saying we need to torch it all and turn it all, like, to shit, burn it all down. To like, he would have expanded on, like, the already existing systems, you know? Bernie was, like, populist flavored, but the cult on the right is just...
I guess that's what I'm saying. Is there any position Trump could adopt that would be anti-populist that the so-called right-wing populists would oppose vocally? Because I just don't see. Vaccines are perhaps the only thing I've seen where Trump's base has meaningfully pushed back on him.
But that was just because they only pushed back on it because of his messaging initially on it, that COVID was fake and it was bullshit.
Right. He set himself up for failure there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think with left-wing populists, there are things that their left-wing leaders could do probably too casually for them, and they'll drop them.
It's already happened kind of with AOC and Bernie, right?
Right.
Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, I just don't see... not to pick on Jank, who, by the way, shout out to him because the TYT, this is like the lone bit of joy I got last night after stuffing my face with giant New York slices of pizza, was watching the Young Turks segment on Republicans threatening to condition L.A. wildfire relief. And Anna gave a kind of like, oh, no, you shouldn't do that. But also they have like a really good point, like, about how terrible Democratic leadership is. And don't you think they have a point in Jenk? And he just went off. He's like, fuck no, they don't have a point. This is bullshit. It's gross. And he went. So I think he's redeemable. We can get him back.
Wait, real quick, whatever you're playing, we can hear it on our headphones. They might not hear it on the stream, but we can hear it. It's really distracting. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anna was spreading the 17. She's just gone. Anna's gone. Whatever the new conspiracy meme is, they'll drop she'll be behind it.
But I think you guys can get Jenk back.
No.
You don't think so?
No.
You wrote him off?
I think Cenk is gone.
Oh, God.
Cenk's a diehard populist. He just isn't necessarily like a super conservative populist. He's just like, but he is a diehard populist. Like anti-establishment, crazy, hates all of that, yeah. We have 33 minutes ago. Israel and Hamas agree in principle to ceasefire and hostage deals, sources say. I wonder what that means.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be interesting because I'm already seeing on Twitter about how that fuels the perception that, and again, I'm making conversation here because this is not my area of expertise at all, but it does concern me that if this goes through, that, because there are a lot of people who are saying that Biden could have ended this with a phone call. And that always felt a bit too simplistic for me. Mm-hmm. But then when I'm reading these preliminary reports and like ABC and others are talking about how, Donald Trump's special envoy has been included in these talks and he has played a meaningful role.
Has he played a meaningful role? I know that he was included.
Yeah, so I think it was an ABC report saying that, not that it was a decisive or single-handed role, but that having him there contributed to this, which I suppose makes sense again on paper because he would be the one, the Trump administration would be the one responsible for maintaining any deal that was negotiated on President Biden's watch. But do you think this legitimizes, if this goes through, does it legitimize the notion that Biden was perhaps too weak on Israel, like in the sense that he could have thrown his weight around more?
I don't know. It's hard to say because like time is a thing. Like it's not like this is randomly happening where Israel's like, oh shit, we need to do this. Like they've had extensive operations and they were able to significantly undermine Iran. They were able to cause a lot of actual damage to Hezbollah. They were able to, like fend off attacks from Iran and the Houthis and Hezbollah.
Hamas is in a weaker position.
Hamas has been like destroyed like 15 fucking times as they go up and down the Gaza Strip. So like all of these things have kind of been conditioning some sort of inevitable end. Like the war's not going to last forever, right?
So if this happens and a conservative says, okay, this is because of Trump, your response would be that
Trump had nothing to do with any of this. Of course not. What is it? I think I asked like a month or two ago. I was like, what else are they possibly waiting for? Actually, I think I said that before they did their fucking Hezbollah fucking destruction strategy. But I would imagine that like there's not many military objectives left. So yeah.
The one that I saw, and again, I'd have to look more into this, but so I don't know if you were there. I know DGG was there because I was there. Campaigning for or canvassing for Janet Protasewicz in Wisconsin for Supreme Court judge last year. No, excuse me, 2023. Sorry, 2023. This is relevant. And when I remember being in the Airbnb in Wisconsin, and there was a big bombshell expose by, I think it was the New York Times or the Washington Post, about a key figure in the Reagan administration, the Reagan campaign, this guy's like really fucking old. And he basically said he legitimized this long-standing theory that the Reagan campaign basically pressured Iran not to release American hostages until after Reagan was inaugurated in order to fuck over President Carter.
Sure.
And this bombshell, again, I'm paraphrasing, it was like February or March of 2023, where the guy's like, yeah, we actually participated in high-level talks to kind of put that pressure on to give Reagan the political win. Mm-hmm. And so, again, some of the scrolling that I did this morning, like early this morning, and then after I got up, people suggesting that, maybe this is something similar. Like there was...
The thing is that mattered for Carter and Reagan because reality mattered, but it like literally anything could happen here. Don't be careful not to fall into the... Aquinas posited this, I think it's the teleological argument for the existence of God, that the idea that the earth is so perfect that mankind could only exist, but this is a fallacy because like life could look another way, we just can't imagine it, right? Conservatives are very good at saying that because this happened in this way, it's
post hoc ergo propter hoc.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like right now, if there wasn't peace and if it would have dragged on for months, like they might with Ukraine, they would say, oh, Biden messed it all up. If they do peace right as Trump comes in, they'll say it's because Trump was strong. If they would have done peace 2 months after Trump was in, they would say Trump got it done in 2 months and it took Biden 4 years. If the peace would have been any time in the past 2 months since Trump would have won, they would have said it's because Trump was elected and they're scared of him. Like no matter what happens, because the conservatives have demonstrated this again and 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 again, that literally no matter what happens, what's released, they always find a way to positively spin it. That FBI release about the presence of federal agents on the January 6th stuff, that was a huge L. It's a huge L for conservatives. But then people like Good Logic will pretend he had the audacity to say this. What's the difference between a confidential informant and a federal agent? What an unbelievable question.
Meaningful difference, yeah.
Yeah, what an unbelievable question. Or what an unbelievable question and statement, really, yeah. So literally no matter what happens, there's always going to be credit given to Trump or like something, assigned to Biden, right? When the stock market does really well before Trump's even in office, it's the Trump effect.
It's because they're anticipating
But then when there's like a huge tank, that's not the Trump effect. It's just, it doesn't matter, yeah.
Fair enough, yeah. Yeah. I guess I'm curious, like, given that Netanyahu and I think like more right-wing members of his government indicated that they preferred Trump in the election, and given the precedent, again, with Reagan and Carter, would you put it past the Netanyahu government, since you're more studied on this than me, dragging shit out in order to give Trump a W politically?
I don't think it matters that much. I think my guess is going to be there's just shit they wanted to get done, and they got a lot of shit done with other enemies. Like this war in Gaza allowed Israel to shore up its defensive positions in a lot of different ways that it probably wouldn't have had this war not happened. I don't know if it doesn't matter much now whether they give Trump a W or not. Who knows? Fuck, I could be wrong, but like I don't know what conflict could happen between Israel and anybody else in the next 4 years. Now that like everybody around them's been like completely fucking eviscerated. You've got Assad kicked out of Syria. You've got Hezbollah taking huge losses on that whole like Israeli attack. You've got Hamas basically being
I know
completely destroyed.
People talk about the threat Iran poses, but is that Iran and its proxies or like?
The big threat with Iran, the proxy stuff is annoying. The big threat is that if Iran gets nuclear weapons, nobody knows what would happen or what that would look like.
Yeah, so it's not even like conventional standing military versus conventional standing military. It's the possibility that they're on the cusp of becoming a nuclear state.
Yeah, which is weird because nobody likes nuclear states fighting each other. Like there are parts, I think there are videos between like India and China where they fight with like swords and spears and shit, but like without guns, just because nobody wants shit like escalating. No, oh my God, I said India and China. I mean India and Pakistan, I think. Or it might be Pakistan and China. It's one of the three. They all fight in there.
It's interesting to have this conversation, especially because, like, again, I can kind of, I don't want to say quiz you on it, but like get some of these ideas out or test them because
it was India and China. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Israel. Ukraine. Okay, so I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched a bit of your coverage of it. The President Zelensky's conversation with Lex Friedman. So, how did you feel? Because Zelensky glazed Trump a lot in that conversation. Of course,
yeah.
And he did also, because I remember this, like when I was listening to it, I was like, it reminded me of 2019 when Trump was impeached the first time for trying to extort Ukraine to dig up dirt on President Biden. And if you recall, Zelensky...
he extorted them. Yeah. Not tried to. Some people say that, like, this is very annoying. I'm sorry. No, I know you agree with me, but I just want to be
extortion is also the attempt.
Yes, correct. People are like, it's not blackmail if it doesn't actually, and it's like, no, that's not how it's. But yeah, he did extort.
That's an improper use of the phrase. Yeah, you're right.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
So like, Zelensky was asked about that during, like, in the lead up to the impeachment and during, and he was like, "Well, I didn't feel pressured," and Republicans it's like, see, Zelensky said he wasn't pressured, so clearly he wasn't extorted. It's probably because Zelensky knows he's got to glaze Trump, right? Like, you didn't take offense to what
Zelensky's
said.
Obligation first and foremost is to the Ukrainian people, and he should do as a leader whatever he needs to defend and protect his country. So him navigating whatever, it's not his job to help bring character indictments against my political leadership. Now, maybe I could argue in a very long-term way if it was like one vote off, maybe his statements would have made it. But no, for the most part, Zelensky's role and responsibility to the Ukrainian people. So he should be saying glazing whatever administration he can in order to be in good standing with America. Yeah.
Do you think it'll make a difference? Because, I mean, obviously we've seen Trump is very much kind of a fair weather friend, right? And if you praise him, that does at least it makes it more likely that you gain some sort of short-term favor. But do you think it will make a difference in terms of how he navigates the Ukraine-Russia conflict?
The problem is you don't have any kids.
Not that I know of.
These questions are not computable. It's like asking me like if Nathan was president. No offense, Nathan, I love you. But like if Nathan was president, like what would his position be on like the Southeast Asia region? I don't think Trump knows anything about any of this at all. So I have no idea. I can't predict anything that he could do. I could see it going a million ways.
Do you think, I guess, so like I agree, he's not someone with a fixed ideology, but I also feel like some things about him are relatively static. Like I feel that he wants to kiss Putin's ass as like a general heuristic. That seems pretty solid, right?
I don't think he wants to kiss Putin's ass. I think that Trump is like Anna Kasparian and all the other why I left the left people, to where when you're getting bullied by one side, when somebody else like cuts you, some slack and says good things about you, it feels good. So like he likes Putin because Putin is nice to him while everybody else is mean to him. But I don't think he has like an ideological attachment to Putin. Like Putin... Like the biggest threat for World War III or nuclear annihilation is Putin starting to shit on Trump, because Trump would be like, this motherfucker, we have way more nukes than them. That would be like Trump would be. You
don't think like he's not like he admires? Well, no, but do you think that he admires Putin because Putin is he has said shit before, like, oh, we should do like May Day parades, and like
I wouldn't use the word admire. I don't think Trump has enough character to admire anybody. I think Trump can only be jealous or envious of people, which he did state about North Korea, that he's envious of the cult worship that they get from their population. So I'm sure he's envious of the faux respect that Putin commands from his population. Sure, yeah, probably a little bit, yeah.
Because I don't know how much time we're killing here, what we're doing, but so at any point, if we need to like change the subject, we can. But have you been thinking more, like when you're scrolling or whatever, about President Biden's legacy? Because I've been thinking about that more and more here lately.
I think it's funny that Obama was like a huge deal, and Biden was kind of like the joke VP, and then Biden ran in 2016 and didn't do very well.
No, he didn't run in 2016. No.
Was it 20? No, he did, didn't he?
He ran in 2008, and then he ran in 2020. He sat 2016 out in part because of Beau Biden's death, his son.
Oh, okay, that was it. Because there was some input from the Obamas that made Biden not run or something. I thought he ran once and he lost pretty poorly. Was it 08?
Oh, yeah, he ran in 08 against Joe Biden.
Okay, no, against
Barack Obama.
Sorry, okay, in 08, yeah. So I think Biden was kind of seen as kind of like the Joker guy and the joke VP, and then he stepped out and let Hillary do her thing, and then he ran again in 2020 in like a completely fucked scenario. I feel like in retrospect, I think Obama's like 8 years was like meh. I think Biden's administration was unbelievably good, and I can't see history like. I feel like it's only going to become more and more and more and more positive. That the idea that an administration could have been that productive, bookended by two insane administrations, assuming Trump does anything even remotely similar to the last thing. Like I think. Do you want to watch real quick the Tim Kaine thing? Wait, real quick. Let me go P2. Hold on. Right, you don't have to hold on. Actually, keep chatting. 1 sec.
Hey, everybody. All right, let's take a look at chat. We'll chit-chat with chat while Steven takes his break. Thoughts on carrots? I like carrots.
It's kind of cold in here, right?
Yeah, it's a little brisk, but I'm cool with it. Arguably, Obama didn't win as big as he did without Biden as his VP. Also, Biden's legacy will be one of the most effective in U.S. history. I hate all the people who made him step down because he would have won. I don't know about that. I definitely don't share his confidence. But that's actually why I was thinking about it, because I think decades and decades, more of his legislative accomplishments will be, remarked upon by historians, but I think it will be blemished by Trump winning this election. I think that Biden will be inextricably tied to Trump winning a second term. But it's also why, like, my preference, I was agnostic about whether or not Biden should step down after the debate, because part of me did feel like it was just too late. This was unprecedented territory. But my preference on the record, even before that, was that I wish Biden, I remember so vividly when he made the announcement video that he was seeking finish the job was the slogan. I wish he would have said that he would have been a one-term president. And the reason for that was because his popularity after Afghanistan just stayed low, and it was only getting lower. Like, there was nothing he did between September 2021 and more than a year later in 2022, when he announced he was running for president again. Or it may have been early. Yeah, no, maybe it's 2023. I can't remember the time. Now, did he announce in 2022? Trump announced in 2022 that he was seeking office. Maybe Biden didn't until 2023. I can't remember. But his approval rating was only getting lower. So part of me was like, just, it seems like this, and this ain't it, Chief. It's not coming back. But then after he said he was the nominee, I was like full steam ahead, because that was the decision. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Do you think Biden should do that one thing before he leaves office? Do you think Biden should do one thing before he leaves office? If so, what? Fire Merrick Garland. I would love that. Just fire Merrick Garland the day before. That would be my thing, Pisco. That'd be my thing. It was 2023. April 25th, 2023. Announced he was running. Yeah. Do you think Biden men dragged their heels on Ukraine using American weapons inside of Russia? I mean, I'm pretty sure that whether you agree with the logic or not, I think this is the universal consensus opinion that they definitely took their time authorizing it. Now, you can say that they did so like validly because they did want to provoke a hot war with Russia. But do you wish Ogreboy would debate Destiny? Yeah, that'd be fun. What is the knob next to your hand? It's my special fuck you button, and if I hit it, it ejects Steven into the ceiling when he gets out of line. Schedule F still happening. Schedule F is a reference to an executive order that Donald Trump drafted but did not implement, which would basically turn members of the federal government under the executive branch into at-will employees that were dischargeable at will.
Would it allow them to do is ask them also explicitly, like, what are your political inclinations?
Yeah, all sorts of like unhinged, intrusive shit. Yeah, they said that they're gonna that's part and parcel of Project 2025. So I'd be stunned if they didn't re-implement it.
Why is Pisco? What is he spamming at you?
He asked if there was one thing that Merrick Garland, or excuse me, that Joe Biden could do before he leaves office. What would it be? And I said, fire Merrick Garland.
Based.
The lamp behind you makes you look like an angel. It's not a lamp. It's the real deal.
Okay, are we ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, give us our Tim Kaine, I guess.
Military will follow that order.
Do I think I could beat Pisco in a fight? He's a lot
because they
bigger
want to
than me.
focus on lethality.
We can't hear anything right now, and we need it to come through for us.
Politically correct.
Oh, sorry. I was seeing if the compressor was turned on. I should have just asked. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Senator
Scared the
Sullivan.
shit out of me.
God damn! Like,
Thank you, Mr.
whoa!
I'm looking forward to this opportunity to
scared.
talk. I want to return to the incident that you referenced a minute ago that occurred in Monterey, California in October 2017. At that time, you were still married to your second wife, correct?
Yeah.
I think the way that you have to do it. I
believe
I think
so.
you got to turn it up or
And
down
you
on the
had just
mixer, right? Because that's
fathered
what's
a
routing to our
child
headphones
by
right now.
A woman who would later become your third wife, correct? Senator,
Jesus.
It's crunchy.
So what do you think about pirate software? Do you think he took enough responsibility for the party wipe on World of Warcraft? Do you think he's a subpar mage, or
Who?
are you serious?
What the hell are you talking about?
It's one of the largest scandals on the internet right now.
Oh, you guys got to remember, I'm like normie AF.
He's avoiding accountability more than Donald Trump.
Pirate Rat is?
What?
You said Pirate Rat is?
Pirate software.
Oh, gotcha. Did you tell me that Elon Musk isn't as good of a gamer as he told people he was?
Yeah, he lied. That's a totally boosted account. God, that's it's such a stupid thing to lie about, too. God, it's so cringe, bro. And why would he have the audacity to stream it? Like he could fool everybody. Like, how stupid do you have to be as well?
No, okay. See, you think that's bad. Him streaming that fucking gotcha question he dropped on that firefighter.
Fuck, I didn't watch that. I read that headline. Like, was it
So
as bad as
funny.
it seemed?
And then he's like, oh, okay.
Apparently he was trying to tee them up to like blame the California administration or
Say
whatever.
that there was water shortage.
I also hate that, like,
Palisades or Malibu or something like that.
we have to pretend that we just all have to dumb ourselves down so much, and it's so stupid. Like, people are saying, well, the firefighters were complaining about, but yeah, no shit. They're fighting for funding. Like, obviously, you're going to say that. It doesn't mean, like, if my boss is going to tell me, like, hey, we're going to cut an employee, we're going to cut or whatever, okay, sure. Well, my argument in response is going to be like, well, we're not going to have people to do this or, blah, 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 blah. But that, like, this is your negotiation on this side. This is not like this is what's absolutely going to happen.
There's a self-interest there. Like, what government department at any level,
is
or
okay
even
with
like a private sector that has proposed or supported a cut to their department?
And then also, sorry, fuck, I can't talk about this. I get more upset. Isn't this what the Republicans want? I thought we were supposed to be cutting funding to things. Or are we going to pretend that when we cut funding, it won't impact, right? Although this funding cut didn't even have anything to do with this firefighting stuff. I like how Republicans are obsessed. Just curious. Quiz time. Ready? We're going to get real deep into the numbers and finance. Ready? What do you think is the thing that the United States discretionary budget, what's the biggest thing that we spend our money on? Do you know the answer to that?
Isn't it the military?
Yeah, it is. How the fuck are we going to save all this money when they're talking about massive spending increases in the largest line item in the fucking discretionary spending? Where are the budget cuts going to come from?
Oh, that reminds me of another live stream fail of Elon Musk from a few days before the most recent one with the firefighters. He was asked about that. He did an interview with a CEO, and it was on Twitter, and he was like, now that you've gotten a closer look at the budget, are you still thinking you can cut at least $2 trillion from the debt, or from the budget? And Musk is like, well, you want to overshoot, that's like the high end estimate. It's looking more like we have a good shot of of cutting $8 trillion. We have a good shot of cutting $1 trillion instead of $2 trillion. A trillion, a single trillion.
Okay.
A good shot. Even though he promised at least $2 trillion.
Yeah.
Like, this asshole.
He's not going to do $1 trillion either. Right. The budget there will not be a surplus. And I don't even know if the deficit will shrink.
Well, hey, listen, Stephen. Under Trump, he was very responsible fiscally until COVID, okay?
I love that they can get away with that lie.
Deficit spend
Obama's deficits were getting lower. And then I think Trump's deficit, I looked up some of these numbers after arguing with good logic because I was so triggered by how much he lied to me. I think Donald Trump's budget deficit before COVID was larger than any of the last 4 years, I think, in Obama's administration. Like, it was trending downwards, but then he did the huge tax cut, which, by the way, cut into Biden's deficit a lot as well. And all the borrowing that he did there is more interest too. So
these people suck. And really? Yes, I do play video games. Thank you very much. Again, I am on my second full playthrough of Witcher 3, the greatest single-player RPG in the history of civilization.
So what are you trying to do differently in this playthrough?
I think, this time I didn't play. Before I played not Blood and Wine, Hearts of Stone, but not Blood and Wine. So I'm going through the whole thing. It's my first time in Tucson.
Oh, so the DLC.
Yeah.
Cool.
The bigger DLC. Have you played all of it?
I didn't get the Blood and Wine DLC. I wanted to go with the Trump expansion, so I got the Blood and Soil.
The Dave Smith approved.
Yeah, that's where you only kill the non-Witcher people who are of a different race than you.
Well, listen, that aside, it's just the greatest single-player RPG ever. Like, I do not believe... I tried the most recent
Baldur's
Dragon
Gate
Age.
3? Oh, Dragon, okay.
And Veilguard. Couldn't get into it. I tried a bit of Baldur's Gate 3. Couldn't get into it. I don't know. My attention span for a lot of video games is just like, it's not very good.
Yeah.
Since you've been taking Vyvanse, do you game at all anymore?
Not yet, but we'll play Factorio.
No, seriously,
eventually.
when is the last time you actually played a video game either for stream or pleasure?
I think I played a little bit of Balatro, that card game that came out, I think like 3 or 4 or 5 months ago or 6 months ago.
It's been fucking long since you played a video game or a game period. Out. Damn.
When did Balatro come out? Oh, shit. Okay. Maybe, yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
I tried to play Cyberpunk 20 whatever when it came out, but it was like so riddled with bugs that I basically mothballed it. I'm sure it's good now.
So good now. But you wouldn't get it.
I wouldn't get cyberpunk.
Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't think of a joke past that, but what do we have to look forward to politically? On the 20th is the
inauguration, which I will not watch. I will be I refuse to do it. I can't abide it. Are we teed up for this clip?
I think we're close.
Dan Sullivan.
Keynes, the start of Tim Kane's thing. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think there's anything good coming politically anytime soon. I think that
we got to be ready for you're wrong. Here's what's going to happen, okay?
Okay.
We're going to have our DNC re-energized with whoever wins this chair race, okay? And then we're going to we got to be primed and ready for 2026.
100%. Yeah.
We got to be ready to kill it.
Yeah, because again, like this is to me it's so important. This is why I say we really have to try to close ranks as much as possible, and we have to build bridges and maintain bridges with people we might disagree with on foreign policy, and by we I mean you, with other people.
Listen, if all these cucks on the left could be like Mehdi Hassan, then I could fucking do it. Because I don't know if I disagree with anybody as much on Palestine as I do with Mehdi Hassan. But like I said, I don't know if I knew before. Did I before going into that debate with him against Palin and Dave Smith? I didn't know that Mehdi Hassan was a man of action and character, and that he was the war in Gaza is a genocide and it's horrible, and I hate that this administration is supporting it. But my God, would I obviously support them over Trump? It's not even close.
100%.
It wasn't this tepid like, if you live in a swing state, maybe you have to. It was a absolute endorsement of
he doesn't indulge false equivalence. Like that's I'm a huge fan of his because even if you disagree with him on foreign policy, I think he makes principled objections, and he doesn't like Waja Ali is another one. He's also on Piers Morgan. He's somebody else who is a vocal critic of great pop culture takes too. He's also a vocal critic of the Biden administration with respect to foreign policy. But he's a shit talker, number one, and number two, he makes it no bones about it. You need to vote. You should vote. Fuck third party. And Democrats are the only game in town. So he straddles that line, which I think is really impressive. Kyle Kalinske, I think, does a good job too. So it's why we got to build bridges.
Okay.
Because I'm going to keep pushing on that, but because they're going to have full control of government. They're going to have the Supreme Court supermajority, 30 out of 50 state legislatures, the biggest mainstream news network. They've got alternate media. I don't see any sort of decline in the Daily Wire or Tim Pool, even with all these scandals. Now you have
they have like all the parts of the alternative media are also bending as well, right? Like,
right.
You have Meta and X are both going to be loyal to the Trump administration. You have like all of your Himmler and your Goebbels and your Hitler, like all of your big things.
They have the full high command, yeah.
Yep.
And that's what I'm saying. Like I don't know if we've been at such a disadvantage like we are right now. Like I'm not saying like total doomer, because again, like it's a narrow majority in the Senate. It's they have an even narrower majority in the House. So I'm not saying that we have no power whatsoever, but we are decisively on the back foot. And
imagine explaining in a history book, like after the Biden administration, like, well, why did they do Trump again?
Exactly.
Well, at the time, there was this huge thing called Leah Thomas and drag queens.
And one thing led to another, and we saw a 7-state sweep in the swing states. But I mean, because the other thing is, too, going back to Biden's legacy and how it's relevant to this, Trump is going to be inheriting a good economy for the second time in a row.
Just a booming economy.
A booming economy.
Crushing the rest of the world.
Yes.
The only reason he even has the ability to negotiate on this tariff bullshit is because of how dominating the American economy is.
It's his own fucking deal with China and Mexico, too.
Yeah.
Or no, Canada and
China
Mexico.
And Canada,
sorry,
yeah. Or, Mexico and
Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, and then the price negotiation, the drug negotiation that Medicare, that Trump promised to do when he ran in 2016, Biden got it done. Will they go into effect this year? Like that's what I'm saying. Like shit like that. Like
infrastructure as well.
Right. He's going to take credit for all of it. So I'm saying that's why, folks, it's not a institutionally when they tell you that the left has control of the institutions. Don't let anybody tell you that. Even if Sam Harris, I know Sam Harris is a darling in DGG.
I don't think Sam Harris says that, does he? Sam Harris, I appreciate too. He thinks I know he doesn't like the school shit.
Captured. Yeah, he says institutions the left is in control of institutions. But yes, he also is like really based on like Trump and all this shit. It's actually not true. Like if institutions to you start and end at college campuses, you're just objectively wrong and you've missed the whole fucking plot. I'd rather have the right to be in as control of college campuses as much as the left is here, and we control the Supreme Court, the White House, the president. I'd make that fucking trade any day of the week. So it's just bullshit. We are on the back foot institutionally in this country, and they have so many advantages that we don't, and so that's another reason why we've got to like close ranks as much as possible. But I also think like maybe there's a way where we can is there anybody on the left, because you used to do this with, I don't know if it was Vosh or others, but didn't you have people that you could disagree with on the left like pretty heatedly and then shake hands? Like you and Pisco are a good example. Like imagine, is there anybody in the space who's a big content creator that you guys could go hard on each other and then like we agree on 99% of other issues, so like we'll scream at each other over the issues we disagree, but
and like I have theories for why that would work, but I feel like in the past the only reason I got away with this is because I would like bite a lot of bullets. And I wasn't very optically focused at all until, but then I was getting kind of irritated because I feel like I would win arguments against people like Vosh, but like I would always end up biting a lot of crazy bullets, and I wasn't ever like cognizant of like, well, what are the optics of this argument?
Right.
And when I started to think of that more, I think me and Vosh had two arguments where I was a little bit more cognizant of the optics, and after that he was like, well, never again. Yeah. So
I guess what I'm asking, is it possible that this like coalition that we're trying to build on the left or whatever the non-right is, because I know some people say it's not left, it's whatever it is, where maybe it should be just like a gentleman's agreement. Like, listen, you like if you and Kyle disagree on a foreign policy issue, shouldn't you two be able to like scream at each other face to face or whatever, and then fist bump at the end of it and say, okay, we're still allies against Republicans? Or
I mean, I can. It's up to them. They have to come to me. I'm okay arguing with anybody. I'm always chill at the end.
And still maintain a political coalition.
I can do that. I've demonstrated I can do that. I'm the only good faith evaluator of any of these fucking people. I even give Emma Vigeland props when she's like, yeah, I'm the only person that will fucking do that. All of these other people become fucking insanely unhinged the second that they hear one bad thing about you or don't like a certain thing.
Are there any sort of, what is your red line as far as like political disagreement where you can't
if you're wavering on who to vote for, then you literally fuck your entire face with your own everything in your body.
Okay. Fair. Yeah, I get
if there's even hesitation on that, then it's disgusting.
I agree. Like false equivalence. To me, that's the red line, is like confronting this Republican Party, like you cease to be an ally.
I hate how much I don't know how the Democrats, progressives, the left has ran away so much from like the most important fights about like women's suffrage, like voting is so important. I mentioned before when we went canvassing in Georgia, every fucking old black person, what a waste of time knocking on doors for registering to vote, because all these motherfuckers were registered to vote. It was like they knew the dates, they knew the polling places, they had dragged their fucking husbands or children if they were old enough to go and vote. But then the idea that and then look at the Republican side, they fight to vote. Every single word out of Donald Trump's mouth is mail-in ballots going to be rigged. We vote on election day. No matter what you do, you have to vote on election day. And they fight to gerrymander, and they fight to close down polling stations, and it's the most important thing to them. And then you look at the far left, like, voting doesn't matter. It's not even important. It doesn't change. It's all billionaires and stock trading, and nothing matters. And it's like, okay, well, that's crazy, because historically we fought for the right to vote, and it was incredibly important. And the right seems to be very fixated on the right to vote. And
the right is irrelevant. Yeah, if it's this is to let me know if you want to try. All right, I've got thoughts about that, but do you guys want to try to play that clip?
Fuck it, yeah. Let's see if we can hear it.
We cannot.
Wait, you have to transition? Okay.
Thank you, Senator Sullivan.
The stream can hear it, but we can't hear it. We just need to be able to hear it.
Thank you, Mr. Hegseth.
It's never good when that menu's open.
We hear some hissing.
Oh, wait, we hear some. That might be it. Let's play it again. Maybe we can hear it.
Looking forward to this opportunity to talk.
But
I want to return to the incident that you referenced a minute ago.
As restitution, I demand that the next time you do this with Pisco, that you also have audio issues, because fuck Pisco.
True.
Monterey, California in October 2017.
Oh, we got it.
There we go. We got it.
At that time, you were still married to your second wife, correct?
Can you
I believe so.
Never mind.
And you had just fathered a child by a woman who would later become your third wife, correct?
Senator, I was falsely charged,
Jesus.
fully investigated, and completely cleared.
So you think you were completely cleared because you committed no crime? That's your definition of cleared? You had just fathered a child 2 months before by a woman that was not your wife. I am shocked that you would stand here and say you're completely cleared. Can you so casually cheat on a second wife and cheat on the mother of a child that had been born 2 months before, and you tell us you are completely cleared? How is that a complete clear?
Senator, her child's name is Gwendolyn Hope Hegseth, and she's a child of God, and she's 7 years old.
And she was, and
here.
you cheated on the mother of that child less than 2 months after that daughter was born, didn't you?
Those were false charges.
Well,
It was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared. And I am so grateful for the marriage I have to this amazing woman behind me.
You've admitted that you had sex at that hotel in October 2017. You said it was consensual, isn't that correct?
Anything,
You've admitted that it was consensual, and you were still married, and you just had a child by another woman.
again,
How do you explain your
completely
judgment?
false charges against me, fully investigated, and I was completely clear.
You have admitted that you had sex while you were married to wife 2 after you just had fathered a child by wife 3. You've admitted that. Now, if it had been a sexual assault, that would be disqualifying to be Secretary of Defense, wouldn't it?
It was a false claim then and a false claim now.
If it had been a sexual assault, that would be disqualifying to be Secretary of Defense, wouldn't it?
That was a false claim.
So you
talking about a hypothetical.
So you can't tell me whether someone who has committed a sexual assault is disqualified from being Secretary of Defense?
Senator, I know in my instance, and I'm talking about my instance only, it was a false claim.
But you acknowledge
And it was
but you
fully
acknowledge
investigated.
that you cheated on your wife and that you cheated on the woman by whom you had just fathered a child. You have admitted that.
I will allow your words to speak for themselves.
You're not retracting that today. That's good. I assume that in each of your weddings, you've pledged to be faithful to your wife. You've taken an oath to do that, haven't you?
Senator, as I've acknowledged to everyone in this committee, not a perfect person, not claiming to
But
be.
no, I just asked a simple question. You've taken an oath, like you would take an oath to be Secretary of Defense in all of your weddings to be faithful to your wife. Is that correct?
I have failed in things in my life, and thankfully I'm redeemed by my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
In finalizing divorces from your first and second wives, were there non-disclosure agreements in connection with those divorces?
Senator,
Oh, no.
not that I'm aware of.
If there were, would you agree to release those first and second wives from any confidentiality agreement?
Senator, it's not something I'm aware of.
But if
Oh,
there
no.
were, you would agree to release them from a confidentiality agreement?
Senator, that's not my responsibility.
Did you ever engage in any acts of physical violence against any of your wives?
Senator, absolutely not.
But you would agree with me that if someone had committed physical violence against a spouse, that would be disqualifying to serve as Secretary of Defense, correct?
Senator, absolutely not have I ever done that.
You would agree that that would be a disqualifying offense, would you not?
Senator, you're talking about a hypothetical.
I don't think it's a hypothetical. Violence against spouses occurs every day. And if you as a leader are not capable of saying that physical violence against a spouse should be a disqualifying fact for being secretary of the most powerful nation in the world, you're demonstrating an astonishing lack of judgment. The incident in Monterey led to a criminal charge, a criminal investigation, a private settlement, and a cash payment to the woman who filed the complaint. And there was also a non-disclosure agreement, correct?
It was a confidential settlement agreement off of a nuisance lawsuit.
Right. During an interview, you claimed that you settled the matter because you were worried that if it became public, it might hurt your career. Do you maintain that you were blackmailed?
Senator, I maintain that false claims were made against me. And ultimately,
Your attorney
those
used
false
the
claims,
phrase,
I have the opportunity to attest my innocence in those false claims.
But you didn't reveal any of this to President Trump or the transition team as they were considering you to be nominated for Secretary of Defense. You didn't reveal the action. You didn't reveal the criminal complaint. You didn't reveal the criminal investigation. You didn't reveal the settlement. You didn't reveal the cash payment. Why didn't you inform the commander-in-chief and the transition team of this very relevant event?
Senator, I've appreciated every part of the process with the transition team. They have been open and honest with me. We've had great conversations between the two of us, and I appreciate the opportunity that President-elect Trump has given me.
You chose not to reveal this, right? Because you knew it would hurt your chances. So you chose not to reveal this really important thing to the commander-in-chief and the transition team because you were worried about your chances rather than trying to be candid with the future president of the United States. Are there any other important facts that you chose not to reveal to the president-elect and his team as they were considering you to be Secretary of Defense?
Senator, I sit here before you in open book, as everyone who's watched this process.
With multiple non-disclosure and confidentiality agreements tying the hands of many people who would like to comment to us. Much has been made of your workplace behavior as a leader of nonprofit veterans organizations and as a Fox News contributor. Were you fired from either of the leadership positions with the nonprofits?
I was the leader. I was the CEO of
That's a yes.
Those two.
Oh, no.
Were you fired from either
and I was
of them?
never fired from a
Do you have
veterans organization.
Do you have non-disclosure agreements with either of those organizations?
Not that I'm aware of, Senator.
What does
Many of
that
your
mean?
work
Not that I'm
colleagues
aware
have
of.
said that you show up for work under the influence of alcohol or drunk. I know you've denied that, but you would agree with me, right, that if that was the case, that would be disqualifying for somebody to be Secretary of Defense.
Senator, those are all anonymous false claims, and the totality
They're not anonymous.
The letters on the record here.
They're not anonymous.
On the record, people
We've
who've
seen
worked
records with
at
names
Vets
attached
for
to
Freedom,
them.
Concerned Vets for America, and Fox News attributing to me
one of your colleagues
working
said-
hard every day on behalf of
One of
my
your
mission.
colleagues said that you got drunk at an event at a bar and chanted, "Kill all Muslims." Another colleague, not anonymous, we have this, said that you took coworkers to a strip club. You were drunk, you tried to dance with strippers, you had to be held off the stage, and one of your employees in that event filed a sexual harassment charge as a result of it. Now, I know you denied these things, but isn't that the kind of behavior that, if true, would be disqualifying for somebody to be Secretary of Defense?
Senator, anonymous false charges.
They're not anonymous. And I'll just conclude and say this to the chairman. You claim that this was all anonymous. We have seen records with names attached to all of these, including the name of your own mother. So don't make this into some anonymous press thing. We have seen multiple names of colleagues consistently throughout your career that have talked about your abusive actions,
Chairman,
attitudes,
I think he's
words,
over
and
his time.
statements
He's way
to women.
over his time.
I now yield.
And thank you very much. I now ask unanimous consent to enter into
Yikes.
the record a family court order concerning the appointment of parenting time between Mr. Hegseth and Mrs.
Oh, my
Samantha
God.
Hegseth. It states that there were no claims of domestic abuse or probable evidence of abuse in the relationship. Without
There was
objection,
Can we
just-
enter into the record his
added
kindergarten report
to
card
the
that showed that he
record.
was the best
And
crayon drawer in the whole
now,
class and only ever drew sunshines and
we now
rainbows?
move
Chat,
to,
who actually, like, if you
Senator
guys
Kramer.
saw this whole thing, I'm
Thank you,
curious,
Mr.
did
Chairman.
anybody
Thank
ever
you,
enter into the
Mr.
record
Hegseth, for your
the
service, for your
email,
willingness
again, from his
to
own
endure
mother
this, and
to
I'm
him,
sorry,
calling him an abuser
for
of
what has
women?
been happening
I'm
to you,
curious if that was entered
particularly
into the
very
record
idea
formally.
That you should have to sit there and answer hypothetical potential in somebody's imagination crimes that may take place at some point, and wouldn't that disqualify you if you were a murderer or if you were a rapist? Unfair.
That's the whole point of these fucking
embarrassed
hearings, is to know where they stand on
this
things.
behavior. But first, I want to say thank you for your strong.
Is there a way, can we, one more, can we fast forward to Warren's?
Unapologetic
Oh, yeah, can we find
proclamation of
Elizabeth
faith in
Warren?
Jesus Christ. I sat here and listened to your opening statement and thought, wow, this is a guy who in today's culture is willing to stand up and say the first thing.
I can't believe he hit him with a yo mama. That's brutal. There's no coming back from that.
That's true. Yo mama's on this.
Exactly.
Is she
We got it
anonymous?
right here.
Oof. Oh, there she was.
Oh my God, that guy, Voldemort. There. Look look how creepy Rick Scott is there. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying.
No, you didn't say that.
What?
No, you didn't say how creepy he
For
was.
them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank
all
you.
of them.
Thank you,
For the
Mr. Hegseth. Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Hegseth, thank you. Thank you for your service. So if you're confirmed as Secretary of Defense, you will oversee our military, including about 250,000 women who currently serve on active duty in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Space Forces, and the Marines. And I have serious concerns that your behavior toward women disqualifies you from serving in this role. Now, I've been trying to get answers from you for quite some time on this. You haven't wanted to meet or to answer any of my questions, so we'll just have to do it here and dive in. I want to pick up on some of the questions asked by Senators Shaheen and Gillibrand and Hirono, and I just want to make sure we have a list of some of the facts that I think are undisputed. I'm not going to talk about anonymous sources. I'm just going to quote you directly. We've got the video. We've got it in print. So going back to January 2013, you told a Fox News interviewer that women in the military simply couldn't measure up to men in the military, saying that allowing women to serve in combat roles would force the military to lower the bar. You picked up on that same theme in 2015, making remarks on Fox News, referring to women in combat as, quote, it would erode standards. June 2024, you said on Ben Shapiro's podcast, quote, women shouldn't be in combat at all. And then, of course, we've talked about it in 2024. You published a book, and you say on page 26 of your book, we need moms, but not in the military, especially in combat units. Page 48 of your book, you claim that women should not be in combat roles, because men are distracted by women. And then 10 weeks ago, you appeared on the Sean Ryan show and said, I'm straight up just saying we should not have women in combat roles. Now, I presume you recall making all these statements?
Senator, I'm not familiar with the article you're pointing to in 2013, but it underscores my argument completely, because in that 2013 argument, I was talking about standards.
No,
standards are what it's always been about,
let's not
Senator.
have this same fight again.
Always been about Senate standards.
He's not familiar with the article, but he remembers the argument.
We're happy to show it. But I want to be clear here. For 12 years, you were quite open about your views, and your views were consistently the same. Women are inferior soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, and guardians. And in case anyone missed the point, and these are your words from 10 weeks ago, women absolutely
we watched this, right?
Should not be permitted to serve in combat.
You weren't here? Oh,
and
you weren't here
yet.
Okay,
Each of
gotcha.
these
You're
quotes,
outside.
those are said without qualification. It's not by how much you can lift or how fast you can run. They don't belong in combat, period, or your words, straight up. And then on November 9th, 2024, just 32 days after your last public comment saying that women absolutely should not be in combat, you declared that, quote, some of our greatest warriors are women, and you support having them serve in combat. Now, that is a very, very big about face in a very, very short period of time. So help me understand, Mr. Hegseth, what extraordinary event happened in that 32-day period that made you change the core values you had expressed for the preceding 12 years?
Senator, again, I very much appreciate you bringing up my comments from 2013, because for me, this issue has always been about standards. And unfortunately, because of some of the people that have been in political power for the last 4 years, priorities other than standards, lethality, and meritocracy have driven decision-making.
I'm quoting you from the podcast. Women shouldn't be in combat at all. Where is the reference to standards? That they should be there if they can carry, if they can run? I don't see that at all, Mr. Hegseth. What I see is that there's a 32-day period in which you suddenly have another description about your views of women in the military. And I just want to know, what changed in the 32 days that the song you sang is not the song you come in here today to sing?
Senator, the concerns I have, and the concerns that many have had, especially in ground combat units, is that in pursuit of certain percentages or quotas, standards have been changed. And that makes the combat more
No,
difficult
let me make a
for everybody
suggestion
involved.
about what happened in that 32 days. You got a nomination from President Trump. Now, I've heard of deathbed conversions, but this is the first time I've heard of a nomination conversion. And I hope you understand that many women serving in the military right now might think that if you can convert so rapidly your long-held and aggressively pursued views in just 32 days, that 32 days after you get confirmed, maybe you'll just reverse those views and go back to the old guy who said straight up, women do not belong in combat. Now, Mr. Hegseth, you have written that after they retire, generals should be banned from working for the defense industry for 10 years. You and I agree on the corrosive effects of the revolving door between the Pentagon and defense contractors. It's something I would have liked to talk to you about if you'd come and been willing to visit with me. But the question I have for you on this is, will you put your money where your mouth is and agree that when you leave
I
this
heard
job,
this part.
you
This is
will
the
not
part I
work for
came
the
in on.
defense industry for 10 years?
Because he won't commit to it.
Senator, it's not even a question I've thought about
You
because
can
it's
think
not
about it right now.
It's not one, my motivation for this job
I understand
has never
that. I
been
just
about
need
what
a
could
yes or no
conceivably
here.
come next.
Time is short. I just need a yes or no.
I would consult with the president about what the policy should be
In
at the Defense
other
Department.
words, you're quite sure that every general who serves should not go directly into the defense industry for 10 years, but you're not willing to make that same pledge?
I'm not a general, Senator.
Again,
I don't know if they're
Yeah.
laughing with him or
Let's
I
just
can't
be
tell.
clear.
They
What
should
in-
be laughing
Charge
at
of the
him.
Yeah, of
general?
course.
So you're saying
You're not being nominated for
sauce
general,
the
but this is
goose,
a
but
top-down
certainly
policy you
not
want.
sauce
it's
for
a
the
distinction
gander.
without a difference.
I would want to see what the policy of the
Oh, I'll
president is.
bet you would.
Thank you, Senator Warren. Senator Tuberville.
Thank you, Mr.
Oh,
Chairman.
this
and thank you
dumbass.
for your
Okay,
hard work
you
and
can
your
stop
committees.
this.
All right,
I
yeah,
don't
okay,
wanna
we're
hear
good.
this
All right.
again.
Mr. Chairman, this has gone well.
It's going well. I used to coach football.
Any final thoughts for us? What do you think is the next? Wait, how many of these confirmation hearings have happened so far?
This is the first one.
This is the first. Okay, gotcha. Because I was going to say I don't think I would miss. Like if Rubio or somebody had gone up, I would have seen clips.
No,
from it,
I mean Rubio's going to go off without a hitch. I mean,
It'll be standard for sure.
Listen, I think a lot of people said if they can. I think it was who'd I talk to? Dan Goldman, Congressman Dan Goldman. He said, which he's not going to be part of the confirmation process because that was the Senate. But he said, listen, I disagree with Marco Rubio's policies, but there's no doubt he's a qualified nominee, which he is. I mean, just objectively speaking, that's going to be easy peasy. Kash Patel is really the one. Again, even more so than Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel is the one where I'm really looking forward to seeing.
Those two are going to be crazy. Are there still any talks about either of these two not making it, or?
The most recent reports I read said that the scuttlebutt is that all of Trump's nominees, all of them, have the votes.
Has
Yep.
anybody had to step down besides Gates?
Nope. Wait.
I feel like there's one other person.
Marco Rubio was the first one announced. Matt Gaetz is AG. He had to step down. Scott Bessent is Treasury Secretary. That was the one and only.
Nice.
I think it's just Matt Gaetz. Yeah.
Well, what a world.
Yeah. So my final thoughts are, just again, we got to take this stuff very seriously in the next couple of years. That's why it's good to see Stephen interviewing probabilistically the next DNC chair over he's probably going to be talking to that person by the end of all these interviews.
It's chill. All right, by the end of all of them, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, by the end of all. That's what I'm saying.
Who knows?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
could be anybody.
Yeah. Oh no, of course. Yeah.
I might throw my hat into the ring.
You should do that. That'd be fun.
What is it, like 2,000 signatures or something? I don't know. I actually don't know.
TGG could get that for you overnight.
Oh no, you need like 40 signatures, I think, from current DNC members. I'm
You
sure
might
there's
get
got to
one.
be some.
You might
vested
get one.
offense. What?
You might get one.
Only one? You don't think I could have 40 signatures from the 448?
Hassan was at the DNC.
You know what? I will run for the next one just to spite you.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to spite
I
you.
want to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you to keep doing better. He's going to be the next DNC chair. But yeah, we got to take this stuff seriously because we're on the back foot, folks. Institutionally, the right has captured it, and probably to heretofore unprecedented levels. And we got a big hole to dig out of. So, yeah, that's
Well,
all
thanks
I
for
gotta
joining
say.
us today, Pondering Politics,
Yeah, I think I'll be
also known as RUM 1
Rum
and
1 and 8.
8.
Yeah, I think I might be back at the end of your Wickler conversation to chat with you.
Oh, okay.
I think, maybe.
You're not, well, you probably don't want to stay on your flight lease, but okay. Well, if you're here.
Here's the flight number and everything. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, if not, it was good chatting with you, despite the audio and technical issues, and I'm sure we'll do this again soon.
Yeah. And we have 2 years for Trump and his guys to run amok, and then we've got midterms coming up, and I'm sure we're going to just blow them away. What does the map look like for those? Do we know?
It's a fairly favorable map as far as the House goes. The Senate, the Senate, I feel like it's constantly one step forward, 2 steps back. Like, Republicans have the potential, like if they maximize their potential as far as Senate maps, they can get a filibuster-proof majority.
You know what I
It
like?
is extremely difficult. Like the only way we could ever match that is if we win red states.
Sure.
Basically, if they win all red and purple states, they get a filibuster-proof majority. If we win all blue and purple states, we don't get a filibuster-proof majority. We have to win some red states too.
There was a New York Senator, James, I think it was his name, James Skoufis. One thing that he said that I think this is like a long-term 2 or 3 or 4 elections down the road, but I feel like Democrats should start investing some time and effort into trying to go after some of these like unwinnable red states.
Yeah.
I feel like there's too much that's just been given up. Especially, I feel like there's been an opportunity created by the fact that I feel like the Republicans have shifted like very dramatically in 8 years from their prior policy positions. So if things go poorly over the next 2 years, people are going to be looking around, scratching their heads, wondering what's going on, and having some kind of landing pad there, I think would be good to really aggressively fight across a lot of states. It's places where Republicans aren't used to fighting. Yeah.
Listen, because when you come back after this, like it's going to go straight to Ben Wickler, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so then before we cut for break, I'm curious. One of the things that I noticed you've been talking to like the other DNC candidate chairs, and I'm happy you've been doing this, is about, I don't want to use the word ruthlessness, but like you've been really emphasizing what their media strategy is going to be and how you think Democrats should play the game of politics. Is that, because I'm sure some of the questions like you've asked each candidate have have been iterative or whatever, and you've moved. Is that still like high priorities for you? Like as far as
media
things you
strategy
wanna
is still
know?
the number one thing for me. I think it's the most important thing. Yeah, maybe not necessarily for the DNC chair, but it's something everybody has to keep in mind because
I
the
think they play a
environment
big
right now
role
is
in that.
unwinnable. Yeah.
I think they play. I mean, obviously they have less influence over how once the candidates are seated, once they win the elections are seated, how they govern. The DNC chair probably has less influence over that, even though I think it's important. But definitely the media strategy. So I do hope precasting or wish casting or whatever. I do hope that that's a big topic of the conversation with Ben Wickler, because he's. Again, he's probably the favorite right now. Any of them can win. They all have a lot of support. I think David Hogg just got the endorsement of Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. So like people are breaking in various directions. But that's one thing I'm going to definitely be listening for is how the next DNC chair talks about the media strategy, because I'm sure you agree we just like coughed up the fucking ball, like we just gave it to him
On every level. Yeah.
So cool.
Thank you for joining me, and we will chat again in a few days, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love you. Be careful.